Hello, everybody. I am Drew Duncan, and this is the Sync 57 Sports Show. Plenty to get to today. We're going to be talking Pelicans and Nets. We're going to be talking about the New York Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to be bringing up the 60 Minutes interview with Primetime Deion Sanders. And, of course, we're going to take a look at Syracuse and Clemson for college football. And then, of course, the Thursday night NFL game that will be happening as well. So plenty to get to today. Let's dive right into it. My man, Primetime, finally got to see the 60 Minutes deal. I had recorded it because obviously it happened on Sunday after the Chiefs-Bills game. But with all the other sports and everything going on, I just did not have the time to finally sit down and watch it. I got to tell you, I felt inspired after seeing Deion Sanders with those kids at Jackson State. And, you know, there's just a couple of things, though, that I will say that bother me, and it's not bothering me about Primetime. What's bothering me is this weird comparison that people are starting to try and drum up between Nick Saban and Deion Sanders, right? Nick Saban was asked about Deion Sanders when they landed a huge recruit, the NIL deals, all that good stuff, as if Deion being Deion had nothing to do with that, as if maybe Deion's just also a very good recruiter, as if Deion understands all the things that he talked about life after sports. And yet for some reason, and it was brought up again, well, Nick Saban doesn't wear a gold whistle. Prime just said, hey, look, man, I'm Primetime. He ain't me and I ain't him. I'm from a different place than he is. What's so difficult to understand about this? I just don't understand the correlation that Nick Saban is Nick Saban and Deion Sanders is Deion Sanders. And he's right. I'm giving these people prime. There's got to be a little bit of prime time to me. There's a certain way to present and handle my business, the way that he was talking to the kids about. But also simultaneously, I still got to be a little bit of that guy because that's what people expect. They expect Deion Sanders prime time to walk into their house. And he's right. When it comes to the recruiting game, absolutely. And let's be honest, he's just, being a version of himself. He still is that guy. He's been asked, could you guard, Tyreek Hill? He just said, I'm prime. Yeah, but no, I'm prime. Yeah, but I'm prime. Enough said, amigo. And yet people are still bringing up he doesn't like the tackle thing. My goodness. How long has that man been retired from football? And people are still trying to bring that up about an absolute Hall of Famer. Baseball and football, the things that man did. Didn't he hit a home run and score a touchdown in the same day? I mean, the Bills were up 38-0. They were still squib kicking it because they didn't want to get it to primetime. And he was still able to get the ball and took it for 6. You can understand why they did it, even being up 38-0. Come on. Let's stop. Okay? Even if that was one flaw in his game, everything else that he did, believe me when I tell you, there's not a coach on planet Earth that wouldn't deal with him not being a very good tackler. Seriously. So let's get that out of the way. Finally, the thing about this whole interview and the thing that really stuck with me was the way he just relates to the kids, the way he talks to them. He meets them on their level, but also helps elevate them. And he talked about life out of here. He said, look, man, when you go to UPS, you got to be dressed a certain way. If you're going to be in Wall Street, you got to be dressed a certain way. When you're in the NFL, this stuff is mandated. He is preparing people for life after football or for the NFL. Either way, it's life once they leave college. And, in college, as we know, there's really 9 times out of 10, nobody there to look after you and make sure that you're staying on task. You leave the home. You go live in dorms. You go live in frat houses. You join fraternities. You do other things. You get apartments with friends and whatnot. And you learn how to be responsible on your own. It's the main thing that college teaches us, is how to be responsible on our own. And Prime is saying that when you get out there, nobody's going to look out for you. This is a tough world that we live in. You're not going to be able to do anything and everything that you want to in every situation, and you're going to have to know how to present yourself accordingly. I mean, that's what every coach is supposed to do. This is coaching 101. You know, I interviewed the great Howard Schnellenberger one time, and he said, we're not just raising athletes. We're raising sons. We're raising husbands. We're raising former military personnel. We're raising, executives. We are raising people, or future military, pardon me. We are raising people for life outside of this. Guys, there's only 397 people officially listed on an NFL on the NFL rosters throughout the 32 teams. There's literally over 9,500 playing Division I college football. Yeah, the chances of making it to the league are few. And Prime is getting them ready for everything. You see, the old thing is, and we've lost this somewhere along the line, is that a coach is supposed to be not just a coach, but a lot of times a dad, a second dad, a big brother. Some people will view that coach as being like their grandpa or whatever the case may be, man. They will remember him for the things that they did. I've interviewed football coaches before that said, I just try to teach these guys, I would rather show up to your wedding than show up to your funeral. Prime is teaching these things. And it's really sad that all that has got lost in translation. Big coaches and big coaching contracts. Go 10-2, get to a big old bowl game. Let's see if we can make a national title run to the CFP. Deion is doing things for his guys. And that's pretty simple. And that's all that needs to be said. Primetime has been very open about attempting suicide back in 97. Nobody understands the stress of this world better than a guy who's been there and done that. You can say he brought it on himself or whatever. I'm not here to discuss that. What I'm here to discuss is life is not easy, and it will throw bricks at you. And it is unforgiving. And in the real world, you're going to have to learn how to cut the mustard on your own. And that's what Deion is doing. God love him. I love to see it, man. It's just great that a guy I grew up watching is still doing amazing things, just in a different way. 100, man. Prime, if you ever hear this, stay doing you, bro. Don't let these people, with the Nick Saban and all that, never let them. For real. All right, here we go. On to the NBA. Pelicans go and annihilate the Nets. All the jokes about Zion and his weight gain, missing the entire season, he's a bust, et cetera, et cetera. Hell, I'll be the first to admit he wasn't even on my radar. I didn't talk about the Pels Nets yesterday, but here we are. In fact, the only thing that I brought up was Stephen A. Smith saying that the Nets were going to take it all this year, and I definitely mentioned it very snidely and in passing. Nobody's looking at the Pels, especially on a national level. And to be honest, a good majority will probably chalk this win up to just beating up on what they perceive as an overrated Nets basketball team. Yes, Zion and Ingram looked great. The team was in sync. Alternatively, the Nets were the Nets. And it appears that KD and LeBron are in the same boat on opposite sides of the country in terms of people saying they can't get it done without a superstar team. So I'll let you discuss Pels, legit or right place at right time, and potentially just beating up on, as many believe, a still overrated Nets basketball team. I'll let you figure that one out. It is only one game, as I keep saying. There are 81 left for everybody, so there's that. On to the Knicks Grizzlies, I said it would be a good game, and it was. Now, granted, Memphis was dominating by halftime. At one point, they got up by, I think it was 19, okay? But New York stormed back, and so to me, the question is, are you more impressed with Ja Morant and Memphis finding a way to finish that game, or are you more impressed with New York never giving up? You know, off the bench, Reddish played amazing in that game. He went for 22, including a clutch tray towards the end. The rotation as a team was amazing. The plays that they ran out of the timeouts were impeccable, specifically the play that sent them to overtime. The team having the patience and discipline to stick with the play that was designed, get the open look, and that's what sent the game to overtime. Then, of course, the taking the charge, right, on Ja Morant. So that certainly helped. In fact, they had a lot of great looks on the night, though, in terms of their rotation and being able to get good looks for three. But unfortunately, they were only 9 for 38, 24% on the night, shooting trays. You know, Memphis almost exclusively relied on the three. But then again, you could say that was good defense by New York, holding them, keeping them around the perimeter. But, man, Memphis put it up 50 times from the arc. That's just insane to me. 53-point shots. I think there only 17 of them, but it was enough. So it was either good defense or Memphis just decided to go ahead and play the numbers game, strictly the odds. But again, you go back to NYC and how good were they from the free throw line? 15 out of 18. One of the better performances that I've seen so far from the stripe. Yeah, they didn't turn the ball over a whole lot, but, you know, Ja Morant is Ja Morant. He came away with 34 when all was said and done. Yeah, I just think that the Knicks, you know, pretty much a bunch of no-name guys, if you ask me. The three balls were a problem, but outside of that, they're pretty much, to me, an overall good basketball team. You know, Memphis was definitely held. Bane was only 6 out of 22. So they were good perimeter on the defense to me. I think they forced him out there and forced a lot of bad shots, and that's what was able to help propel them to get back into the game. They showed a lot of great discipline down the stretch, and it's only one game, like I keep saying. There's 81 left to go, and if they look, even if the three is a weakness to them, everything else that they did, being able to play fast break, go inside, the defense that they played down the stretch. Morant, I don't know what's going on. I'm really tired, but, you know, it's fine. Ja Morant was the only guy that ate. I mean, seriously. And even then, he wasn't that great at shooting on the night. So when I look at this game and I think to myself, who am I more impressed with? I'm going to say the Knicks as a team who will probably win 45 or 50 this year if they can keep this up. But the thing is, though, is they can't be behind the 8 ball all the time, right? So you got to establish yourself early on and play the type of defense from beginning to end that we saw really in the third, especially fourth quarter, and really overtime as well. And, you know, obviously, you want them to be able to hit the tray ball. It's a huge part of the game today. It's the way that it is. You know, we see guys all the time. I talk about it ad nauseum, seemingly every year more and more. We just see guys standing around the three-point line anymore. And with the play designs and the rotation and the way that these guys are able to move around and set screens and, you know, basically almost like crossing routes in the NFL to get open underneath, you know, and get them to the outside, because we see a lot of that under the basket with this team. And then they get to the outside and they've got good looks. You got to be able to capitalize. The inability to shoot the three definitely hurt New York in this game. And really, if they just make 2 more of them, statistically speaking, they win the game. At the bare minimum, get that one at the end of OT, which was a good look off the pump fake. The game keeps going. So when you play that far behind, you put yourself in a bad position. If they are able to play a full 4 quarters of basketball the way that they ended the game last night, this will be a really good New York Knicks team. But we will see. In the meantime, Ja is Ja, and that's about all there is to it. And he came up big whenever he needed to. All right, on to a little college football. Syracuse and Clemson are going to play this weekend. And, I've already talked about it a couple of times, and I'm just going to kind of punchline this thing. This is going to come down to the quarterbacks. And I'm not usually a guy that says it's all about the quarterback. I believe that a good quarterback, a mediocre quarterback, or a great quarterback can affect their team in those regards. A good quarterback is a game manager, won't turn the football over, does just enough to help out your offense, and you rely on your defense to put you in a good position so that way scoring is easy, and of course you want to run the football a lot. Then you have the mediocre or bad quarterback that regardless of how good the cast is around them, they just can't get it right. And they really don't help the team improve in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they're mostly a detriment to the team that would otherwise be a great team. Then you have the great quarterback. The great quarterback can take a mid-football team and make them into a good or even great football team. A great quarterback can be on a great team and make them superior in all facets. And they not only help out their offense, but they help out their defense because they know how to do long, sustained drives. They know how to score quickly if needed to get the defense back on the field to get a quick stop and or take a lot of time off the clock, help sustain drives, make good decisions, not turn the football over, and have their defense backed up. Meanwhile, taking pressure off of them to have to always make a stop. And in addition, giving them a lot of rest from long drives. When I look at Schrader from Syracuse, to me, he is a mid quarterback. He has some serious wheels. But as I stated, I felt he was a little overrated. And even though Syracuse won against North Carolina State on Saturday afternoon, they were carried by that defense. Sean Tucker at running back still did his thing. Gadsden at wide receiver was incredible. Pena was doing okay at getting them in good field position on kick and punt returns. But it really ultimately boiled down to the fact that even though they won that game, Schrader still had 2 interceptions, i.e. putting their defense in bad situations. Not able to help the offense move the football. They could have scored a lot more points than what they had, but turnovers were victimizing to them. And I believe that Clemson doesn't have the best defense in the world, but I believe that they have the best defense that they will have faced so far this year. And that is why I think Clemson wins the football game. Plus, Angulé, to me, is also a better quarterback. Now, do I think he's the best quarterback in the ACC or even in all of college football? No. No, I do not. But I will say this about DJ. He is improving seemingly every single week. The defense has had a very hard time. And, they've escaped from Florida State and some other teams that they probably should have dominated in some of those games. While I think Syracuse has a small chance to win, that small chance is going to have to be, to me, a lot of option plays. Let Schrader predominantly do it with his legs. Quick, over-the-middle shots. Don't try to go deep too often. Running the clock down, maintaining long, sustained drives, giving that defense a lot of rest. To me, they're one of the best defenses in all of college football because it is a championship caliber defense. I will tell you that right now. And they're going to have to force turnovers to give Syracuse the football inside of the 40-yard line of Clemson to start drives out. They're also going to need help from their special teams in that regard, which you could call that defense. So if those things all happen and those things all come together, they can win. The other thing is, as much as I love Dino Babers, he's just made some questionable decisions. We have seen him as a coach at Syracuse, his teams blow leads against the likes of LSU. They should have been in a blowout game, and they could not seal the deal. There were other games where that would happen, and I just got to tell you, Dino's been difficult in big game situations. Very difficult. So it's going to come down to a lot of things. But to me, the pressure is just not on Clemson in this game, other than still proving that they are the team in the ACC. And then, of course, obviously, they're already in a better ranking position, more than likely, in terms of getting ready for the CFP, how the committee will view them. They're going to need a huge win against Syracuse. This game is in Clemson. Syracuse has had the benefit of having 4 straight home games. 4. Now they're going to be on the road against a team and a coach and and Dabo Swinney that has been there and done that. And while, yes, Dabo's team did upset Clemson years ago, don't forget that after that win, Syracuse did not win a single game the rest of the year. Let's not forget that. Also, that game was at Syracuse, and Clemson had a backup quarterback. And Syracuse found themselves in a very similar situation against North Carolina State, backup quarterback playing Woods. Do not forget that. Okay, so while I'm happy that my Orange have been where they are, I'm glad to see them winning games. It's been a long time since I've seen Syracuse with any glimmer of hope whatsoever. I'm grateful for it. I really am. I just don't see them beating Clemson. Clemson has been suspect all year long to me. Are they right for an upset? Maybe. But I just think that Dabo's been there one too many times. I think they have a better quarterback with DJ, and I think they get the job done. Because I think ultimately Schrader will probably turn the football over for Syracuse. And I think that if they zone in on Tucker too much, if I'm Clemson, that's really what I want to do. Because I want to force Schrader to throw the football. I don't think Schrader can beat me with his arm. With his wheels, absolutely. So I'm spying him all the way. So we'll see what Syracuse is made of come this Saturday. And then, of course, NFL Thursday Night Football going on. I know nobody really wants to talk about it. It has been such a disaster. And I've been saying it for years that Thursday Night Football is terrible. I mean, I don't blame Amazon Prime. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. It's the Saints and the Cardinals. It's one of the things that I've talked about, teams that you're not interested in. Both of these teams are 2-4. And, I got to tell you, man, I am a huge Kyler Murray fan, but things are just kind of spiraling for him. 6 TDs, 4 picks this year. They have not been able to put it together. If I remember right, Jameis Winston not playing. Did I get that correct? Right? Tomorrow. As of right now, there's been no call for it. Dalton did play on Sunday, and I know that Winston's been back in practice, but we'll see. So it really just could be more of the same in terms of what you've already seen. I know everybody is mad at, the NFL with Denver getting all these primetime games and whatever, but there's been really bad Thursday Night Football. I mean, how long did they go before they even had a touchdown scored there for a while? So Saints and Cardinals are probably going to get more of the same, to be honest with you. It's been sloppy football, although, if I remember correctly, D-Hop is back. So that's going to be a thing for Arizona. So we might be able to see some dynamic offense. The Saints, somewhat dynamic offensively. We've already seen that. They were fairly competitive with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for about 3 quarters, really 3.5. So, I don't know. Not that Tampa Bay is doing anything special this season, because they're not. But the fact of the matter is we're hoping for at least a good game. So I guess we could try and put records aside and just go, okay, we're hoping for a good football game. Because the NFC West is just a disaster right now, right? I know people are talking about the Seahawks, but I really don't think that they're that good. The Rams are, you want to talk about a serious decline from one year to the next. which seems to happen with them frequently, right? Last time they went to a Super Bowl, the next year they were awful. Then they get Stafford, and they get back, and they win the Super Bowl after being down in that game, and this year's just been horrendous in every sense of the word. And then, of course, you've had the Cardinals, who have been no better than anybody else. So really, what are you getting on Thursday night other than two teams probably desperate to win and give themselves some glimmer of hope for a playoff spot? I mean, at the bare minimum, right now, Arizona's just got to be thinking about maybe the AFC West and winning, any other game that they can. But obviously, division winner automatically gets in. And once you're into the playoffs, who knows, right? But then again, no team with a losing record has ever gone to the Super Bowl. So that's why I can't stand division winners being automatically in that, have losing records. It's just disgusting to me. And another subject, another time. But that's the game that you're getting tomorrow, is the struggling Cardinals and the struggling Saints. Sorry to disappoint everybody by not going too deep into that, but really, what is there to say? Other than we're all going to watch probably another bad game of football. It's just the way that it is, man. Luck of the draw, I guess. All right. So quick recap. Zion and Ingram, are you in or out on the Pelicans? Did they just beat up a overrated Nets basketball team? Or are they coming? Are they the real deal? Knicks, Grizzlies. Are you more impressed by the Knicks coming back even though they couldn't seal it? Or are you more impressed by the Grizzlies' ability to close it out? Primetime's interview on 60 Minutes, just amazing. Man, I love Primetime. That's my guy. That is my guy, man. What he's doing for college athletics right now. You want to talk about right place, right time, fully understanding the NIL deal and what it's worth. Can you imagine a guy like Deion Sanders at Florida State with an NIL deal? He would have already been a millionaire before he even made it to the league. Guarantee you that would have been the case. Syracuse, Clemson, it's going to come down to quarterback play and obviously some coaching. I like Dabo to Dino. I don't know, man. Maybe Dino is going to have something up his sleeve, but I think Syracuse is really just going to have to rely on the legs of Schrader if they have any inkling, any glimmer of hope that they can win this game. I just don't see it otherwise. And it really is sad because, I've been talking about it almost since 2014 or 15, just championship caliber defenses seemingly almost every year with this ball club, but an offense that just cannot get it done. Tucker is such a good running back. Gatson is a hell of a wideout, but quarterback play has just been a complete misfire for this football team for years now. I mean, years. I love Eric Dungy. Really thought he was going to do something in the NFL. Unfortunately, it's not the way that it went down. But regardless, I just think that Dabo Swinney, having so much more experience in these games, understanding how to coach these games, it being in Clemson, DJ being a better quarterback, I just think that all comes together and ultimately gets Clemson the win. Although I will say I still don't think Clemson could compete with Georgia right now in the CFP. I just don't see it happening. I think they would honestly get blown out. But could be a hell of a game come Saturday. Kickoff is going to be at 12 Eastern, so they've got the early game. So we'll know by 2:30 what's going on with the ACC and Syracuse and Clemson. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. This is the Sync 57 podcast. Don't forget that you can listen to us wherever you are listening to podcasts, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, etc. We are wherever you are listening. And as always, stay safe and take care of yourselves.